This is TechCrunch.
Two drivers involved in fatal crashes back in 2024 while using Ford's BlueCruise hands-free driving system were likely distracted in the moments before impact. That's according to new information released on Wednesday by the National Transportation Safety Board. The NTSB released documents for each crash and announced it will hold a public hearing on March 31st in Washington, where it will discuss the findings and likely issue recommendations to Ford. The crashes triggered an investigation not only by the NTSB, but also by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The NHTSA, which is a safety regulator, said in early 2025 it had determined BlueCruise has limitations in the detection of stationary vehicles in certain conditions, and upgraded the probe. The regulator sent Ford an exhaustive list of questions as part of that probe in June of last year, which the company answered in August. The investigation is still ongoing. Ford has maintained through all this that BlueCruise is a convenience feature and that drivers must always be ready to take control of the vehicle. It also warns drivers that BlueCruise is not a crash warning or avoidance system. Buyers of new Ford vehicles can purchase BlueCruise for a one-time fee of around $2,500 or a $500 annual subscription. That said, the NTSB's investigation and the hearing later this month will likely put more of a spotlight on how companies like Ford communicate what purpose these driver assistance systems are supposed to serve and how to ensure they are being used properly. Distracted driving is a theme that has come up in various other investigations into other popular driver assistance systems like Tesla's now retired Autopilot and its full self-driving supervised software, the NTSB's prior investigation into a 2018 Autopilot-related death made particular note of distracted driving. In reference to that 2018 crash, NTSB Chairman Robert Sumwalt said, "In that crash, we saw an over-reliance on technology. We saw distraction. We saw a lack of policy prohibiting cell phone use while driving. And we saw infrastructure failures, which, when combined, led to the tragic loss." The first BlueCruise crash took place in early 2024, occurring in February in San Antonio, Texas. The driver of a 2022 Ford Mustang Mach-E was traveling in the center lane of Interstate 10 when he crashed into a stationary 1999 Honda CR-V at around 74 miles an hour. The Ford driver was using BlueCruise just before impact, which happened at 9:48 p.m. The Ford driver had minor crashes, while the Honda driver died as a result of injuries sustained during that crash. New information released by the NTSB on Wednesday shows that the Ford's camera-based driver monitoring system registered the driver as looking at the main infotainment screen in the 5 seconds before the crash. The driver monitoring system only detected him looking at the road for a few fractions of a second at about 3.6 seconds before the crash, and again at about 1.6 seconds before the crash. He received 2 visual and auditory alerts to watch the road in the 30 seconds before the crash, but did not brake before impact. The documents show that the driver told the San Antonio police that he had been using the vehicle's navigation system to travel to a charging station. One of the reports states that he may have looked at the center screen console because directions to the charging station were displayed there. Now, it is possible he was nodding off before the crash, but nearly impossible to say for sure based on the information released on Wednesday. Ford's system captured a still image of the driver 2 seconds before the crash, which the NTSB says shows him sitting upright and facing forward with his head resting or nearly resting on the headrest and slightly rotated to the right. The driver obtained an attorney after the police interviewed him, and the attorney declined to allow him to speak with the NTSB. The second fatal BlueCruise crash happened in March of 2024 in Philadelphia. The driver of a Mach-E was traveling on Interstate 95 at 3:16 in the morning when she crashed into a 2012 Hyundai Elantra, which was stopped on the left side of the road. The Elantra hit a 2006 Toyota Prius that had stopped in front of it. Those two drivers were friends and had stopped for an unknown reason, and the Prius driver had gotten out of his car and was standing to the left of the Elantra. Both the Elantra and Prius drivers died, while the Mach-E driver sustained minor injuries. The driver of the 2022 Mach-E, a 23-year-old woman named Dimple Patel, was intoxicated at the time, according to the local police. In late 2024, she was charged with DUI homicide, traveling at about 72 miles per hour before the impact, despite being in a construction zone limited to 45 miles per hour. A lawyer for Patel told TechCrunch on Wednesday that the case is still pending and that a trial date has not yet been set. The new NTSB documents showed that the driver monitoring system in Patel's car registered her eyes being on road for the full 5 seconds before the crash. But the photograph taken 2 seconds before impact appears to show her holding a phone above the steering wheel and almost totally out of view of the driver monitoring system. Ford did not immediately respond to a request to questions about whether it was aware of this potential shortfall of its driver monitoring system or if the company has done anything to mitigate it. Modern Ford vehicles are equipped with a forward collision warning system and automatic emergency braking, which are separate from BlueCruise. In addition to warning that BlueCruise is not a crash warning or avoidance system, Ford also warns owners in fine print that the forward collision warning system and the automatic emergency braking system are driver assist features that are supplemental and do not replace the driver's attention, judgment, and need to control the vehicle. Now, that may be because Ford sees real limitations in the capabilities of the technology that powers these systems, a mix of cameras and radar sensors. The NTSB says in one of the reports about the Texas crash that it held meetings with Ford staff about AEB response to stationary targets in conditions similar to that crash. The Ford employees told the NTSB that, based on the functional limitations of the industry's sensing technologies, coupled with the scenario of vehicle travel speed, nearby vehicle maneuvers, and environmental factors, Ford would not expect the current generation of radar camera fusion AEB systems to detect and classify a collision target with enough confidence for the AEB system to respond. To that end, the NTSB noted in the documents released on Wednesday that no vehicle subsystem applied any braking in either of the fatal crashes. That's it for now. For more stories like this one, go to TechCrunch.com.